Welcome to the Nice Guy Show. We're doing a three-part series where each of the coaches are going to be going and sharing their struggles that they're having. So in this episode, I'm going to be sharing my struggles. So just because we're life coaches, it doesn't mean that our life is perfect. In fact, it can be quite far from that. Welcome to the Nice Guy Show. I'm your host, Faisal Khokhar, and I'm joined with Ari and Chuck. And in this one, I'm going to get raw. I'm going to say, hey, guys, this is what I'm struggling with. This is what I need a bit of help with. And if you look at my past, I've not always been open and honest about my struggles in my life. I've kept them hidden. And as a result, that ended up me suffering inside because it just bubbled up and it became into very dysfunctional relationship and actions. I also learned that we as men, we as all humans need help. We need to have some help and support because most of us are, I try to figure out a lot of the problems in my head. And I'm thinking, right, this is the solution. And what I realize is that I'm trying to fix something and I don't always get the result. So I double down on it, thinking that the more I do this, the better I'll get. But it doesn't happen. So what am I struggling with right now? Well, I'm struggling in, I would say, the thing that really causes me a lot of discomfort is parenting. And as a recurring nice guy, I think I'm more of a nice guy dad and parent. And I've been really working on this for the last few years. So much so that I hired a dedicated psychologist just to help me with my parenting. So that's one aspect of it. And the other aspect of it is that I'm going through a transition, which is that I'm built up my coaching business. I love my coaching business. And what I'm doing is I'm kind of changing towards a new brand or a new it's evolving. And I'm developing this new concept, a new framework, which is called the 5 fractures. And so now I'm going through this breakup, this separation, whereas I'm thinking, well, is this the right thing to do? But there's so many good things about the past. Maybe I should just hang on to it. Maybe the next one won't be successful. Maybe it'll fail. So it's just like the same thing. Just because I'm going through this business breakup, it's giving me the same feelings as I would be going through a intimate breakup. So guys, in this episode, I really want to talk about more of the breakup part of it, because the other part, as a parenting part, is pretty raw right now because a few things have happened in the last few days. And for that, I want to keep that to myself for now rather than putting it out in the public. And one of the things I learned about, healing and recovery is that not everything has to be shared to the world. It's only some people that we will share and bring this to. So for those things, I want to keep that to myself, and the people are in my private, I feel safe to talk about. But in the public one, for this one, I really want to talk about this breakup I'm going with my business. So, I want to open it up to you guys as well. Do you recognize some of the things I kind of shared there?
Yeah, I think, Faisal, and we talk about this as therapists too, is you never share with your clients something that you haven't resolved yourself yet. So I'll share things with my clients about something I've done, but if it's something I'm currently going through, so I think that's wise of you to be able to just kind of hold that. But thanks for letting us know what's going on. But how do you feel like these two things, your parenting and this breakup, how do they relate to each other? What are some of the patterns that you see in your life that where there's similarities in both?
Well, that's a good question. I guess the thing that just came up to me was having balls, having real courage to do things that I don't want to do, like the uncomfortable things, and trusting that it doesn't look right now, but it'll work out, and I don't have to have all the pieces in place for it to figure out to be right. So that's some of the things I like. It's not, there's a lot of uncertainty, and it's the uncertainty I don't like.
And that uncertainty then creates anxiousness in you that you want to solve the problem quickly. And
yeah, I want to get to that place of peace, that everything's okay. So I want to, because for me, that uncertainty is like a threat. It's danger, and it's unsafe until until everything's predictable, certain. Then I'm like, my nervous system then just relaxes. So I'm really battling this part of trying to make everything like predictable, right? So I've got a sense of control over this.
So I'm wondering if maybe that's part of your own personal growth then would be to be able to live in the uncertainty and sort of stretch yourself there rather than trying to fix everything.
Absolutely. That's the stretch. That's the part
Yeah.
of like, there is so much uncertainty, and sit with it, take it, tolerate it, and still carry on. Look, don't see what I did in the past, especially my first relationship, was I wanted to break up, but I didn't have the courage to break up. I didn't have the balls to break up. So I'd always keep going, trying to convince myself, rationalize myself, actually, you know what, this is okay. Actually, tolerate this. And this is the great thing about it. So I was just always started to justify myself. And the same thing I'm doing with my business as well, trying to justify it. And even I'm sure as a parenting, I'm trying to justify something. But maybe it's like the avoidance of the truth.
So I was a little confused at first about why you were calling it a breakup. I didn't really see it as a breakup initially. I thought you were talking about a person, but you're talking about breaking up with your old style of coaching.
It's more my breakup of my business brand. Like, for example, I've done the Mask and Charisma. Now I'm going towards the 5 fractures, and like everything is changing towards this new system, new brand, the way I'm seen in the world. So it's, like as we evolve, we change. And I remember one of my business mentor, he says, you might do something for a few years. The next thing you might do will be completely different. And he says that sometimes we have to let go of the good for the better to come along. Yeah. And I'm go on.
No, it just sounds like, so what you're saying is you're trying to move from sort of, I mean, in the past, you've been known as like the dating coach, right? So you want to move from being seen as a dating coach into more of a coach who helps men integrate. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, it's like the 5 fracture framework. I've created this 5 fracture framework.
Yeah.
I love it. I've tested it, and it's like now to be known as not the Faisal who does the Mask and Charisma dating stuff as well, which is something I'll still be doing and helping with the guys in the background. But it's like I'm known for this 5 fracture framework, and like going 100% all into this. And there's always a part of you going, well, what happened if it fails? What happened if you're making a wrong decision? The other place is known and it's safe and you know everything about it. Why don't you just stick to it? Why are you rocking the boat here? Why are you leaping out? Like, why are you doing something crazy? And it's all about what happened if it fails? What happened if it fails? What happened if you make the wrong decision? What happens if this is the wrong decision? And it's that constant ruminating, overthinking that just carries on.
I guess I was viewing this as a natural evolution of what you're already doing, and that you're still kind of targeting the same group of men.
Yeah.
Single men who are dating. This is sort of a value add, is this framework that you want to use to help men understand themselves in kind of an organized, relatively simple way, and more able to utilize tools that kind of fit their profile. So I just think this is not such a break for you. It's a new brand, maybe. I mean, I'm not in your head.
See, logically that's so true, but emotionally it feels very different.
Yeah,
and I think that's where sometimes we forget that logically. When I rationalize this, absolutely, it just rationalizes and that makes sense. But what happens is that emotionally, it's like one compartment that I'm in the next compartment, and trying to transition between the next compartments is like, okay, now it's, sometimes change can be very difficult. When you've done something over and over again and you've known it, it's a pattern. Now you have a new pattern, even though it might be quite similar, but it's a new pattern. And my brain's going, this is new. This is untested. You don't fully know it.
Yeah. I mean, I can relate, in terms of my career shift, because I was a clinical psychologist and neuropsychologist. I mean, I still am, but I've really shifted my identity to coach, which to me felt very radical. And it's not what, I mean, other psychologists become coaches too. They might do it as a side thing. Like I've really adopted this identity of coach, and then to become a men's coach and a nice guy coach. Like that's a dramatic departure for me. So in that respect, I can relate to it. I don't know what the next shift is. I'm already shifting into podcaster, content creator.
Did you guys have resistance to it? Was there any resistance when you guys? I mean, I know Chuck, you went from therapist to coach, and Chuck, was there a lot of resistance? Was there like a lot of rumination, or this is not the move to make, or
Absolutely.
what was going in? Yeah, what was going in your heads? That's what I like to know.
Well, I think I was kind of coming from a place of it's more of a hybrid type of thing. I mean, I still see therapy clients and I still see coaching clients, But I'm wondering, can I do something here, Faisal?
Sure.
Okay. Is talking about the 5 fractures a distraction for you? Because when you came in, you were talking about parenting and then you shifted over to 5 fractures. And I'm just wondering if, as you were talking about that, it felt unsafe to expose yourself. You started feeling exposed, and it was easier to distract yourself with this thing over here that's a little bit more generic. I'm just curious if that.
Yeah, it definitely is.
You kind of teased us.
Yeah.
So I wanted to share the 2 layers. The one layer that really affects me, which I would say the real struggle is the parenting one. And that's my private one. And that's one I want to.
And I'm not saying that to share that, like the details and stuff, but felt like, and it just felt like it was sort of a bait and switch that you brought that up. And then all of a sudden you were talking about this breakup that you were going through. And so I just want to know if like you personally, as you were sort of doing this, and then it's like, all of a sudden it's like, oh man, I'm going to talk about the stuff that's really raw for me right now. Let's shift to something that's a little more safe. And is that a pattern for you?
He just therapized you, Faisal.
I know he did. But this is good though, because some, I want guys to see this as well as just because we're as coaches, we still have that experience. And I mean, as we were talking about, doing these 3 episodes, I was feeling very raw about this, and there was a need for me to, I guess, be seen and connected with you guys and say that actually this is what's really going on, but I don't feel fully safe to really dive into this one. But for sure. And it was
I feel more connected with you right now than I do when you're off talking about the 5 fractures.
Yeah.
I just wanted to see like where that's at with you, because it's really easy. And this is something that I do and all those nice guys do oftentimes is we start to get to the edge and then we're like, oh, that's too scary. Let's go divert to something else.
Yeah. And I guess because this is being recorded, I'm more hyper vigilant about it. Yeah. If it was just us 3 guys chatting and that was my safe environment, then I'd be, like, guys, I'm really struggling with this.
Well, but part of the idea of doing this podcast was for people to know us, And again, I'm not saying you have to talk about the details of what happened, but I'm just wondering, like, your own internal struggle of, I want to get real, but not that real.
Yeah. Because I think if I start getting real, I think there might be the fear of, okay, what's going to come out? I'm going to start opening up. Yeah, I'm going to start opening up, and then I know you guys are very good at asking questions and coaching me. Yeah, I guess I'm not too worried.
Viral. Suddenly, this is the one show that's going to go viral.
Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah. And I guess as coaches, I think the parenting part is still like something happened, yesterday or something, and that's really raw, and I can still feel it, and I can still feel like, and I guess the feeling that I'm really having is embarrassment. There's a lot of shame and embarrassment because we're a life, we're men's coaches, and we have this persona of, I interpret this persona as like, we've got to have our shit together, and there's a lot of expectations, and there's a lot of shaming that comes with it as well. For example, I've dated girls, and they've said, "Oh, but you're a coach. You shouldn't have that problem. You should have that. You should handle that." And I guess a lot of shame comes around the fact that actually that part of my life, especially the parenting my life, it's pretty raw. It's pretty messy. It's not, I've not figured it all out.
It's real
And
life.
I know, right? And it's like, well, and I make mistakes there.
Yeah.
And there's a part of me going, oh, I need to hide that. I really need to hide that from the world. But actually, I really struggle with parenting. I really try, my son, especially older one. I mean, they're wonderful kids, but he has his OCD, PTSD, and I went through hell, and I'm sure, he did too, for the last few years. And I feel, well, as a life coach, I really should have this handled. As a men's coach, he's doing things that I feel like, well, as I should have got that out of him.
Yeah. Well, and I think the lesson here is that when we're actually raw and vulnerable, that's when we make connections with people. And my guess is that guys are going to connect with you more around this than they are going about the 5 fractures. 5 fractures is about marketing. It's really easy to sort of talk about. But parenting, it's fucking hard, man. Like, it is just a really hard thing to do. Sometimes all 3 of us are parents, but I feel like for you to be able to be a little bit more like, I struggle with this, people are going to connect with that. And it's actually the opposite. This is what I found anyway for myself, is that I'm afraid of sharing something with somebody. I'm embarrassed, essentially. And that's what keeps the nice guy stuck in the nice guy syndrome, is he doesn't have safe people to share with. And again, don't talk about the details, but the struggle piece of it, I think that's the part that we can all identify with, of like, it's hard.
I feel that burden, Faisal, too, of, okay, I'm a coach, I'm a psychologist, I'm supposed to have it all figured out. And then you feel like professionally you have to present yourself as having it all figured out, or clients or your audience won't trust you. And I think that's what Chuck is kind of,
I think you're going to get more trust from people, at least again, that's been my experience. And, it's funny, like you talking about like, you're feeling of like you have to have it all together. And my wife has actually said to me, is that how you talk to your clients?
I remember you mentioning that.
Yeah. So, we're just fucking guys that are just trying to figure this thing called life out. And why the hell do I have this expectation that I have all the answers? I don't. And generally what I'll tell guys that I'm coaching is like, I don't have all the answers. I don't have it figured out. I've just been up the mountain a couple times, and I can tell you where I fell down, where my pitfalls were at. So I think this is kind of a important topic in terms of like vulnerability and being vulnerable with people, and that we connect more through that vulnerability. So I just wanted to commend you on your courage of being able to go there with us.
Yeah. And I appreciate you guys, leading me there as well. Because, my natural resistance was like, it's too raw. Let's not go there. But, and it's sometimes it's easy as well. I remember the last podcast we recorded with Ari as well. It's easy that we can end up, making those comparisons. Oh, but that dad doesn't have that problem, or he must have that all handled and sorted out. And why haven't I got this problem sorted out? And it's you get into the emotional thinking rather than the rational thinking. Because the rational thinking is actually, well, he might not have that problem here, but he might have a problem somewhere else. But the emotional thinking is that constant comparison of like, okay, and that's the struggles. I do share that actually I don't have it all handled, but my internal feeling wise is like, I got to get it handled, because I don't want to get those judgments and shame and ridicule. And especially in relationships as well, because when you fuck up and when you do it big time, your partners, like my ex or my partners, they come crashing on you. Right? It's all the accusations, the name calling, the gas, all those stuff coming on you. And then you start questioning, like, gosh, am I really that bad? Am I really that dysfunctional, or do I have all of these things? And I know the feminine is very sensitive as well. So it's like double the stuff that it comes with.
I just want to say before we wrap up, like I look up to you for your parenting. Like you've taught me some important things about parenting. So, I mean, I always like to give you a shout out for that.
Thank you.
I don't know what ghastly thing you did this week, but
I'm sure it was
in the past, I looked up to you.
Yeah.
No, thanks, guys. Appreciate you guys, supporting it. And my intention was, for guys to see that, we are, men who are finding their path. I'm finding my path. I haven't got a lot of my answers. And, as I'm guilty of all the stuff, like the nice guy stuff, and try to, do a lot of, have my own coping mechanisms, which don't always serve me. And I'm sure and hopefully that you'll be able to relate to some aspects of it and see, okay, well, it's okay to put your hand up and say, hey guys, I am really struggling. And sometimes we don't always want to put our hand up initially. And that's why we need other guides, men who love you and support you, men and women who love you and support you, because sometimes they'll take you there. And I think that's been part of my biggest healing is I've not done this on my own. If I was doing this on my own, I'd be in a very different place, in a much worse place. So make sure you've got some good people around you, because, that's what, helps you through your tough days as well. Guys, thank you for being part of the Nice Guy Show. Thank you, Ari. Thank you, Jeff. I appreciate you. I love you. I, appreciate all the support we do outside the channel as well. And do check out the next episode as well, which is going to be on Chuck as well. So he's going to get raw and vulnerable. And, I know Ari as well. So thank you, guys. See you in the next one.
You've been listening to The Nice Guy Show with certified Nice Guy recovery coaches Ari Graff, Chuck Chapman, and Faisal Khokhar. Be sure to subscribe to this channel so you can listen to our latest episodes and visit us on www.theniceguyShow.com. If you have any topics you'd like to hear us discuss, send us an email at support@theniceguyShow.com. Thanks for listening.